Hello, and welcome back to the Homeschooling 101 series. I'm Darnetta Bolton, a youth services librarian at the Orland Park Library. I'm also a homeschooling mom of 5. My children are ages 6, 8, 10, 11, and 13. So I have a first grader all the way through 7th grade. And so I'm very excited to be here with you today. Today's topic is legal issues. And so as we begin, I want to mention that I would like for you all to keep in mind that we're not lawyers and that this information that we're providing today is meant to be a starting place and should not be substituted for legal counsel. And also, we are discussing legal issues as they pertain to homeschoolers in Illinois. So if you're watching this from another state, we ask that you please make sure you find out the appropriate information for your state. So again, every state has specific homeschooling requirements. And if you are located in Illinois, we're just going to go over a few of the topics that would relate to you. So the first one is if you have a student that was in a public school or is currently registered for school, how do you notify that school about your decision to homeschool? So you would need to write a letter to the school. We are learning that it is recommended that the letters are certified with some sort of receipt, and that you would submit that letter to your child's school and tell them that this is your intent to homeschool. In Illinois, that is all that is required in order for you to homeschool. If you do have a child who was never registered, say for instance your child is going into the kindergarten, they've never been in school before, you do not need to submit a letter of intent if this is your child's first year in school. This is only if you have a child that is registered. And also, please keep in mind that it would be nice to submit this letter prior to school starting, because you don't want your child to be listed as truant or a no-show for school. So if you already know over the summer that you do plan to homeschool, we would encourage you to submit that letter prior to the first day of school. So the second thing to know is if your child is 6 or older by September 1st, you must obey the compulsory attendance laws. So if you have a child that's 5 and they would be going into kindergarten, you're not actually required to notify a school at all. You don't have to actually say that you're homeschooling. You could just be having your child. You could just have your child at home. However, once the child turns 6, it is required in the state of Illinois that they begin some formal education. This is also required until the child turns 17. So from 6 to 17, a child is required to be in some formal school setting. So the third point is Illinois requires you to provide an adequate course of instruction to your child. So what does that mean? That means that you're covering the following subjects: language arts, math, biological and physical sciences, social sciences, fine arts, and physical development and health. The State Board of Education treats biological sciences and physical sciences as one combined branch of instruction. And physical development and health also are considered a combined branch of instruction. So as you're developing your curriculum, you can know that you need to include subjects that are listed here. And there's also ways that I would recommend that you could combine these subjects. And so once you start looking for programs, you could also find a program that helps you combine some of the subjects if you're having a hard time making blocks for each one. So the next thing is instruction must be in English. When you teach your child in your homeschool, you must do so in English. Number 5, you should know what to call your homeschool. So when you're reporting that you're homeschooling in Illinois, homeschools are considered private schools. So you would be considered a private school if you had to submit any documentation on behalf of your child as to what their school option is. You would list it as a private school. The exception to this is if you have a child that is filling out a FAFSA. A FAFSA is a free application for federal student aid that most students complete prior to attending and applying for colleges. So on that form, you would need to list homeschool as the option for their current education. And the 5th point is homeschool students can be allowed to attend public schools part-time. Some of the reasons might include you might want your child to go to a school part-time would be for driver's education classes, and Some schools may even allow this so that they can participate in extracurriculars. Keep it in mind that the schools are not required to follow this. This is not something they're required to do, but you may be allowed to do this. I would encourage you to reach out to your school district and ask that question specifically if it applies to you. And lastly, in the state of Illinois, homeschoolers are not required to do any testing at the end of the year, and they're not required to submit any records or portfolios of their students' work for the year. However, it is encouraged that you keep track of the following things: your attendance for the year, the days that the child did actually do school, information on the books that you use for that year. Like a simple list would probably be sufficient. And if you have some samples of work that they've done, some essays, some math, some artwork, just to have a small sampling of the items that they've completed for the year. If there was any correspondence that you sent to the school for that year, such as an intent to homeschool, that would be something you would want to keep track of as well. If you decide to have your kids do any standardized testing, it would be nice to keep that for a while. And any other documents that just show what you've done for the year. It is encouraged that you keep these items for at least 2 years. Now, again, it is not required that you do this in the state of Illinois, but as a precaution, just to make sure you have something just in case somebody inquires about your child's education, it would be nice to have these things. And you could just set up a simple binder system or file folder system that allows you to just drop them in. If you have multiple children, it probably would be easier to do that. Just label each file with the child's name, and then you could put the 2020-2021 school year on the front of the box. And then as you go through your school year, you could just simply drop a few of the examples of your child's work into that file and just keep it closed up for the next couple of years. And then if anyone inquires, you would have that information easily accessible. So I would like to tell you that a really great resource and where I have gotten the information for this this session is from the Homeschool Legal Defense Fund, and it's called HSLDA, Homeschool Legal Defense Association. And the link to that website will be in the chat, and we'll ask that you actually reference that for any updates. Because of COVID-19, a lot of states are changing some of the requirements. Illinois' requirements are already very flexible, so I don't know if we will see any changes to those requirements. However, if you are interested in homeschooling, and specifically if this is your first year, it might be a good option for you to take a look at that website and just go through some of the information. They have forms that you can download for your intent to homeschool. They also have other resources as far as grants that homeschoolers can apply for who are in financial hardship that may not be able to afford buying curricula. And they also have information for special needs students. So if you have a special needs student and you have specific concerns and questions about how you would proceed with the education of that student, or even if you have a student with an IEP and you have questions on how you would proceed homeschooling that student, HSLDA has a lot of resources for that. And so some of them do require that you purchase a membership, and it's not a very expensive membership and could be worth you trying to do that if you have a specific unique situation where you would need that. And I am under the assumption that once you pay for that membership, that you are allowed to have legal representation for any homeschooling issues that you might have. So this is our Homeschooling 101 session about legal issues as it pertains to homeschooling in the state of Illinois. If you have any additional questions that were not answered here, feel free to leave them in the comments. We're excited to answer them for you. And our very last session will be a Q&A where we will compile all the questions and answer as many as we can to get you all the information that you need. So thank you again for attending our session, and we hope to see you at the next one. Bye-bye.